Hey, what's up, guys? Hope you had a really nice new year, and I wish you all the best in the days to come, and hope you make it really wonderful for yourself, okay? And hope you achieve all the success. All right, so right now, today, we're going to discuss about one key important topic, which is data storage, okay? And before we get into that, like just some housekeeping, like all the links and all the slides are going to be in the description, so make sure to don't worry about that. You'll get everything in the description, okay? So, and as you see over here, I've created some of the slides from my research, and I'm going to jump into that, and we're going to discuss more about that. Okay, so as you see over here, the main topic of discussion is going to be data storage for Solana on any other networks, a decentralized solution for all. Okay, what do I mean by that? Like data storage is the main topic. Solana is because it's the most high performance chain right now. So that is why I'm taking Solana as the standard for this presentation. And it's not just a solution for Solana, but any other chain. Because if it's compatible with Solana, it's going to be compatible with all other chains like Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Avalanche, and or any other chain, Near Protocol, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. So there are seven subtopics in the agenda. So the first thing is we're going to discuss about how's data stored right now, what are the challenges that we have right now that we face as an industry and also Solana mainly. What is the ideal solution look like, and what is the upcoming solution by Shadow Protocol? What is the difference between Shadow Drive and some of the current decentralized solutions like Arweave and FileCoin? And we also have like ecosystem benefits of Shadow Protocol itself. We're going to discuss more in that, and we're going to discuss about like some of the user benefits of how of Shadow Drive. Okay, so let's jump in. Okay. But before we jump into how data is stored right now, we're gonna take a look into one of these things, one of these tweets from Vitalik. It's long thread, and as you can see over here, Jan 1st, he mentioned a lot correct, basically predicted DeFi. He's saying that yeah, previously in the previous years he was discussing, hey, DeFi is going to be a thing, and it became a thing, in 2020. And there's lots more to come in DeFi, of course. But he sort of predicted. But anyways, because he sees it, he's the co-founder of Ethereum. He knows what's going on, and a lot correct, though incentivized file storage plus compute hasn't taken off that much yet. And of course, I completely missed the NFTs. Probably he's too busy, to focus on NFTs right now. And I would say the biggest thing that I missed in details is collusion issues in DAO governance. Okay, so he points out three challenges. Okay, incentivized file storage, compute, which is like, how do you actually make the blockchain much more efficient, much more faster, much more better, so that it can handle millions and billions of people. And also he was addressing like some of the DAO governance issues, like how we actually run like decentralized governments or decentralized autonomous organization in this case. Okay, so remember, he mentioned like we haven't solved for incentivized file storage and compute, not to that extent, and also DAOs. Now let's look at like how does the whole blockchain stack look like? Virtually just keep this image in your head, okay? Like because this is the basics of like of any blockchain that is out there or any network or DLT or DAG, anything out there. It looks pretty much like this, on a higher level, okay? So on the base layer, you have the validators who actually validate each blocks, validate transaction, and make sure everything is correct. Okay, so they are different validators spread across like different parts of the world. They consist of like the whole blockchain itself, and they make it much more decentralized. They make it decentralized, and then on top of that, you have the RPC nodes. RPC nodes are just delivering messages into the validators, from the decentralized application. We'll get there. The only difference between RPC nodes and validator nodes is RPC nodes, they do not validate, they do not participate in validating transactions or blocks, and there's a slight like, configuration differences in the settings and so on and so forth. Apart from that, the hardware is the same, and these are basically like, the hardware infrastructure layer itself, the heart of a blockchain, you would say. So these two comprises of that. And then on top you have like the load balancer. It's a technical term, I do understand, but that's what it's called, and it maintains like, the traffic, the traffic flow when it comes and it hits the load balancer actually like, you know, yeah, it balances out. It just makes it much more smoother so that the information or the message flow to the RPC nodes and then to the validator nodes is much more easier to take in, so it's much more easier. Okay, so that is what load balancer's job is, to make it much more efficient enough, to pivot that information and to slowly, distribute it across like different RPC and validator nodes. And then on top, you have like, user applications, like when we interact with DeFi dApps or like with different websites, which are like Web3 websites, or, your Phantom wallet, your MetaMask wallet, whatever you have. So that's on the top layer. That's the application level. Keep this image in mind, okay? The application level, this is the infrastructure level, okay? And this is like just like a liaison between the application level and the infrastructure level. Infrastructure level, RPC nodes and validators, okay? Let's proceed. Now, how is the data being stored currently? Okay, and this, like I mentioned, like this slide, the whole presentation is going to be mainly focused towards Solana. So how's Solana actually doing this? How's Solana storing data? Okay, so data storage, what I mean is, you keep hearing, like if you're in crypto, you keep hearing like L1s, L2s, and so on and so forth, like sharding and so on and so forth. But I like to keep it like simple. Okay, I mean, L1, what is below L1? L0. What is L0? L0 is nothing but where you actually store the data. The data is not stored on the blockchain. The blockchain is just like an architecture of like how the information passes. Okay, but those information need to be stored somewhere, right? Like, and how are we doing it? We've been taught like, we've been told like in the past, like, oh, the blockchain itself holds the data, it's in the blockchain, and everything. No, 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 it's completely different how it works. Like, I mean, completely different in the sense, like, we need to actually take a look at, hey, where is it, what happens actually? Okay, so this validator nodes and RPC nodes, they store this information of like the data history for like 1 week. Okay, so it's very short term. Okay, then we also use like different centralized solutions such as like Google Bigtable, which is a long form of storage. Like, you can store data for a longer period of time, but this is a very MVP sort of a storage, solution, and it's centralized. Arweave, IPFS, these are like decentralized solution. You also have Filecoin, which we'll discuss about, in just a bit. We have AWS S3, which is like, the Amazon's side of like storage solution, different other cloud solutions in the market out there. Okay, so we use a combination of all of this in order to give the users, like, or the developers or the DeFi dApp builders or NFT, whatever, like the builders, much more data, whatever data they want to, in order to go ahead and make it much more better, and might make the user experience much more better. Okay, so this is what we have right now. Okay, but what are the challenges? The challenges is, first of all, like some of the solutions, as you have seen, Google, Amazon, why is all these into like blockchain? They're like Web2, they're centralized. They're like a public companies. Okay, they're they're not a digital asset native or a Web3 native company. Okay, so their business model is that side. Okay, why are we using that? So it's centralized. Some of the information is like, we're using those solutions as centralized, and when it's centralized, that means somebody with the right access can actually change the information. So it's not very trustless how we think. Okay, so these are some of the challenges that we actually need to address, and we need to understand this. And this is not just on Solana; it's for everybody. Okay, and that is why Vitalik points out, like, incentivized data storage and compute is one, and compute here basically means the validators and RPC needs to be much more efficient enough, and it's not reliable. All these solution, decentralized solution like Filecoin, Arweave, these are not reliable, because it cannot handle the throughput or the transactions per second of Solana. Because, like, for example, we have seen this. It's proven that they're not good enough, because what they've done is, like, like, let's say there was an NFT drop or something like that, and like, people went ahead and like did like an NFT mint. People, the devs or the designers, whoever was uploading like all these NFTs into the blockchain, it was the transactions were being failed, and why was it being failed? Because Arweave itself with Solana leverages a lot in storing like this NFT data. It's much more slower. So and Solana, the data from Solana is coming at a very high speed, and then it goes to Arweave. It's like it's very slow. He's like, hey, don't give me so much, don't give me so much of load, I can't take it, and that's why like there's a fail in transactions, so so that's why once the transaction fails, you need to pay more, to get that again data stored, and it's a hassle, and it's difficult to use and access. It's not very user friendly because all these RV FileCoin, they have different tokens and it's listed on different websites. You need to go to Google search, you need to Google them. You need to search how to store this, how to actually use their services in order to actually store data for Solana. Now it's like weird. Like you'd be like, why am I actually using like FileCoin and RV, which is a totally different blockchain, in order to store data for Solana? Why don't we have something on Solana yet? Why don't we build a hard drive on Solana? Okay, so as you've seen, like none of them are Solana native. They're not native to Solana. They're not built on Solana. They're not built into Solana or on top of Solana, anything like that. And the last point is it's unpredictable cost. Okay, it's unpredictable. It's not just scale. It's not scalable at all. I'll just show you some of the differences, like what I've researched. And it's not cost efficient. As because there's going to be a lot of data demand. In the future. Like trust me, this is going to be like high demand industry. So we need to be actually like capable enough to support all of these decentralized networks, so in that case, they're not going to be scalable nor cost efficient enough because their whole model is a bit different, and it's not very reliable. I'm not just trying to give some commentary on them. It is what it is, and that's what we are trying to just say over here, and we're trying to address all of those, you know. So what would the ideal solution be like? The ideal solution, you'd say like, okay, it needs to be cost effective, it needs to be easy to access, from one thing, I don't need to go to a centralized chain to get that token, then put it in some wallet, I need to install that wallet and then use a different API to actually to use this token, pay it in Arweave, pay it in Arweave and then store the data. It's a lot of thing, so, and also we need to have the user experience needs to be a bit flexible. People needs to have the choice. Like we love choices. We love choices. Like so people like choices. So you need to give them those choices. Okay, and I'll share with you like why is not the user experience so flexible in the alternatives, and most importantly, it's not optimized for Solana speed or throughput or like any of that stuff. It's just too slow. It's just too slow. Yeah, I've been like researching on this like since 2017, when I mid 2017 when I joined like the whole crypto and this as a space, and I've been learning about this industry a lot, and the solutions in the past is just too slow, and it just doesn't it's not really useful. It's not practically useful. It could be good for like maybe 100 people, 1,000 people, or like some 100,000 people, but that's not the scale that we are looking at. Look from like 10 years from now, everything is going to be smart contracts and like blockchain related, and everything is going to be on chain, even the real estate, everything. So we need to find a solution for that. So now we have it. I'm pretty optimistic. The solution is which shadow protocol I'm just going to come up discuss, which GenesysGo is building. I'm pretty optimistic on them, and I think they're going to solve it. Why? Because in 2017 we had all this SIA coin storage and all of that stuff, like BitTorrent and all of that stuff. Okay, so we had that era, and then we came to Filecoin and Arweave era. That was like around 2019 or something. And now we see, hey, it's not like Filecoin. This thing is good, but like it's not just like it's not scalable. It's not cost efficient enough. Like so Shadow Protocol is trying to challenge and tackle this like head on, and it's done by Genesis Go. But let's take a look at like the four components which comprises of the Shadow Protocol. Shadow protocol basically comprises of four things: the shadow network, which is the decentralized, the RPC network, okay, and the shadow drive, which is the decentralized hard drive or the decentralized storage solution, whatever you call it, okay. So it's basically, think of shadow drive as a hard drive, but is a very decentralized one. I'll explain you all that in a bit more detail just a bit. Shadow nodes is a combination of like the shadow network and the shadow drive. Okay, it's nothing but it's different servers. Okay, so shadow network, like shadow network and a shadow drive, it combines together and it becomes a shadow node. Okay, a decentralized shadow node. And shadow operators are people from the community itself, like you and I. If we have extra compute in our systems, in our computer, or in our if you have more space in your computer, and if you actually want to contribute like some compute, because all these RPC networks, they require a lot of compute, so if you want to contribute to that, you'll be incentivized, and anybody will be incentivized. So yeah, of course, like I'm going to take a look, but right now, they're still coming up with the documentation. They have some of the documentation. They're running the alpha, with few people, and like I mean, few of the shadow operators, and they're going to assess all of this and slowly roll it out. Okay, so yeah, really looking forward to all of that, and yeah, I'll keep you guys posted how it goes. Okay. And yeah, and one key aspect is all this thing is good, but like you need to have a utility token on the protocol itself. Like on Bitcoin, you have like on Bitcoin blockchain, you have Bitcoin, on Solana blockchain, you have Sol, on Ethereum, you have ETH, So these are all like assets, but it's a type of asset which is being used within the ecosystem. Okay, so similarly in Shadow Protocol, there's going to be a token which is going to be a SPL standard token, with SPL nothing but like Solana standard token, which is Solana programming library. That's what it means. It's a standard like ERC20 or TRC20 or in Tron, like that. So in Solana you have SPL standard tokens. Okay, so Shadow SHDW is going to be one of those tokens. And what are the key principle? This is one of the, it's a screenshot from one of the articles I've taken, like it was published yesterday on their Medium, on GenesysGo's Medium. And look at the principles. Their principles are, just very solid, There's no token giveaways, no free airdrops, no special allocation, nothing that devalues the token relative's IDO price. IDO is, I'll explain to you what it is. It's upcoming. Initial DEX offering, which is upcoming on tomorrow at 2 p.m. UTC, Universal Time. And seed tokens only go to NFT holders. They have NFT also, Shadowy Super Coder's NFT, which I'll touch on in the later stage. And the token, which is the shadow token, must be a utility token, and the use case for the token must be directly related to the use case of the project. What's the project? Shadow Protocol. Shadow Protocol is the project, and it must be related to that. Okay, so they're very simple and very clear how it is going to be designed. Okay, and what is the purpose of this thing. Okay. All right, so one other thing is I would highly recommend, if you guys want to go check out this. I've explained in much detail, for like it's much more focused towards like the beginners of DeFi. Like if you're new to DeFi and crypto and you want to understand like how and why you want to participate in the Shadow IDO, that means you can go ahead and actually buy this token. You can get an allocation and buy this token. How you can do that, like everything in very detail. Like I show you different exchanges and different dexes and so on and so on. I walk you each and everything. Okay, not just I show you practically, and I give you the theory also behind how that's done. Anyways, I've linked the video over here, as you can see, or just go to Google and type search for like Shadow IDO DeFi Beginners, and you will see my video over there. Watch it if you guys want to know in much more details. But anyways, coming to GenesysGo. Who is GenesysGo? So GenesysGo, as we know, GenesysGo is building the Shadow protocol, or they're initiating the Shadow protocol in order to solve for this decentralized data storage, and to offer much more efficiency in the whole network itself, in the tech stack. So what do they do basically right now? What do they do, and why are they doing this? Are they capable enough, and all that stuff? Okay, so basically, what do they do? What is their business? That they actually run like RPC nodes, and they offer RPC network services, the validator caretaking services, and so on and so forth. Okay, they also offer like unlimited RPC requests. Okay, and currently they do around like 1.5 billion requests per day, but that's just like what they do. But like they have the capacity to go ahead and give unlimited RPC requests. Okay, they offer unlimited data storage, and they offer global DNS. Is basically global DNS load balancing is basically like let's say a user is in India, and so they try to find the information which is very closer to India, so that the experience of the Indian user is much more smoother. They don't want to call it from like a server or an RPC which is in Europe. Okay, so they want to get it as close as possible. So they offer all these types of solutions, which makes the whole experience of using a blockchain, not just from like the end user, but also from a developer's perspective, people who are building on it, much more user friendly. And they also offer like full ledger history. They offer the whole history as a of the whole ledger, all the transactions that happen. So they do all this. Basically, they offer like the whole main infrastructure of like in Solana itself. And right now, if you see their whole entire dApp ecosystem, or their whole, the things that are built on top of their RPC and validators, all these services that they offer, they power approximately like around roughly, I would say like more than 50% of the Solana dApps. But there's just like, some of the dApps, as you can see, Cyclos, Aldrin, Dex, Cyclos Dex, Cypher related to futures trading. So this is like Drift is related to options and futures derivatives, and then you see DGeneP, NFT, BridgeSplit, NFT marketplace, tokenized Parrot, which is another cool dApp, Radium. You have lots, options portal, MarginFi. You have everything, you have Sonar, basically it's like different types of like applications which are built on top. They power them, okay, and they use GenesysGo already, and GenesysGo has been here just for less than a year, and these guys have been performing really, really good. And I mean, the way they approach their work and their services is totally phenomenal, because they work first. They don't want to talk first. They want to work first and show, hey, this is what we can do, this is what we have proven to done, and this is what we can do next, and help the Solana ecosystem, and also the broader digital asset ecosystem in general. Anyways, now Genesis Go itself right now, just taking a like some count of like the servers what they have, they're already pretty decentralized, I would say. Why? Because they have approximately like 300 hardcore machines, like bare metal servers, like they like to call it. They have 300 plus servers, which is spread across 9 different countries across the world and 3 different continents. So, and this is less than a year, okay? And you have to understand, these are like physical servers you actually need to set up, okay? And these are real machines. So in order to do that, and with it, like, given that we had like this C-19, all this travel restrictions, they still managed to like deliver this in less than a year. And it's a big challenge, to source first of all, source all these hardwares, and to put them in place where they want, so not they want, like, I mean, where they see the demand and where they see a lot of users, so that it's very challenging. And given all these conditions, I think they have done really, really well. And I think I tend to believe, that in the future, most probably, they're going to even expand even further. So I'm really looking forward to that, so that they're doing a common good, I would say. Anyways, coming back to some of the differences, some of the differences between Shadow Drive. Shadow Drive is an element in the Shadow Protocol. Shadow Protocol is launched by GenesysGo, and they are trying to solve for decentralized solution. And one of the key components is the Shadow Drive. We are going to compare it to the current decentralized solutions that are in the market right now, such as like Arweave and FileCoin. Okay, So this is what I've created, a table which consists of like categories, different categories of how we want to look into the differentiation between these three, and then you have the names on top. Okay, so network in the sense like how is it like its own blockchain? Arweave is its own blockchain. Filecoin is its own blockchain. Shadow Drive, Shadow Drive is not built on top of a blockchain. It's not built on top of Solana, it is built into Solana. Okay, so it is a part of Solana. Okay, and consensus, consensus is how people validate the blocks to make sure everything is correct and everyone is on the same page, everyone has the same copy, of the ledger, and so on and so forth. So in Arweave, you have power of, proof of access. Filecoin, you have like proof of storage. I don't want to get into too much detail of that, but like this is, they have different, the point that I'm trying to say is like, Shadow Drive uses proof of history, which proof of history is a consensus mechanism of Solana. So what the point I'm trying to make is like, Filecoin and Arweave, they have a totally different consensus mechanism, and totally different way how they validate. But Shadow Drive validates the same way how Solana validates block using proof of history. Okay, so the point is like if you want to use a third-party service, like let just say you're a business entrepreneur and let's say you want some service and you want to outsource that service. It's sometimes challenging, right? Like to find the right match because maybe the consultants works differently and you work differently. So it's the same case in here too. Proof of access, it works differently. Proof of history, it works differently. Proof of storage, it works differently. So why don't we have a solution which is in Solana itself, into Solana, leverages the same consensus. So utility token, okay? Arweave has a different utility token that you need to have in order to pay for the data storage. Filecoin also does the same thing. You need to have FIL, this coin. And Shadow Drive will have a shadow token, as I explained previously, some of the core principles on which Shadow Drive is going to be designed. So so that is, it's a utility token. And coming to TPS, nothing but transactions per second, Arweave can handle up to like 5,000 transactions per second. Filecoin, on the other side, I couldn't find an exact, TPS on their website. However, like I tend to assume and like I tend to believe, compared to like, the different, documents that I've read, it's below 100 transactions per second. That is like such a shame, in 2022. And Shadow Drive, it scales with Solana. It runs at Solana speed, that's the whole purpose of the Shadow protocol. It will scale and expand and it will grow depending on how Solana grows, and Solana has grown rapidly, so that's why we need to solve for that layer zero, as I mentioned previously, L0, okay? So it's 50,000 or more, in the future as software and hardware gets better. And let's look at like how 1 TB storage would cost on Arweave. Arweave, it's hilarious, they mentioned like I'm not trying to give commentary on saying that like hey, these are not like bad solutions, this is like worse, innovation. No, they are innovation, but I think like uh, their innovation is good, but like there's always something better, so and this Shadow Drive is just much better. Okay, so that's just the facts, and I'm just stating the facts over here. So Arviv, it says, hey, you got to pay me 200 years in order to store this data. There's no choice. That's you have a cost, and depending on the token of AR, in dollar terms, that'll be the cost, in fiat terms. Okay, so it varies, So the thing is, 200 years, like it's a lot of time, man. Can you imagine? It's like, man, if a person lives for 100 years, that's like a big achievement, like a century, and this is like 2 centuries, so the cost upfront is too high, just too high, for like a normal person who wants to leverage this solution. Filecoin, on the other hand, they have this like, it starts off at 30 and it's a variable price. Why is it variable? Because as you see, I've put like two asterisks over here and I've explained over here, like an agreement between a user and like a miner, how you store the data. They're like these are like off-chain deals, which happens outside the chain, between the user who wants to store the data and the miner who actually stores the data in Filecoin. So they need to come to an agreement on the price. So that is why they have variable price all the time, all the time. So it's like it could be manipulated, and it's very subjective to someone's like a perception of what demand is and what not, like a lot of factors. So you involve that. So that means it's not completely trustless. Okay. So now coming to on-chain factor. Okay, on-chain category is Arweave data stored on-chain? Yes, it is. It is stored on-chain. Filecoin? Yes. Most of it is like, I would say, like off-chain. Why? Because they have these deals, and then once this deals is done, the information is brought on-chain. So it's just like a timestamp or like like a verification. That's what they do. That's what they store like on chain. So most of like things like the main critical things which requires some level of trust is done off chain, and this can be manipulated, like I explained, between the deals. So who knows what the deal is deal for them is deal is just be over there. We don't know. We don't have that transparency. And in Shadow Drive, it's everything is going to be on chain. Why? Because it's built into Solana, it will scale with Solana, and everything will be on Solana end to end. You will have decentralization from one end to the other, decentralized. Okay, that's the whole purpose. Yeah, now taking a look at like RV, who says like, hey, pay us like 2 centuries, 200 years upfront. Look at how data was stored like 84 years ago in drawers, in cupboards and all that stuff. Maybe you've seen it, in post offices, how they like with files, paper files and all, inefficient. So like the thing is, in the next 10 years, we're going to see such massive progress. In my opinion, in my how I'm seeing it's going to be absolutely massive. Who knows in 10 years? Who knows? Like the next 5 years is going to be insane. So, so why, how can we know what's going to happen in like 200 years, and why do I need to pay for all of that so much? Why don't I have flexibility? And like in Filecoin, I don't like the trustlessness part, which all these deals, which happens on chain. So that is why, like, some of the benefits of the Shadow protocol itself, like let's recall the four components of Shadow Protocol. Shadow Protocol consists of Shadow Network, Shadow Drive, Shadow Nodes, which is a combination of Shadow Network and the Shadow Drive. Comprises of like shadow nodes. It becomes shadow node, and then you have the shadow operator, which is not with the community contributing to compute and space of their disk and so on and so forth. So basically, what is the universal benefit? Okay, in terms of Solana, yes, it is a Solana native solution, and it will scale with Solana. Okay, it maintains the consensus integrity of the consensus. What do I mean by that? Like it uses the same consensus as proof of history. Okay, POH is nothing but proof of history, and you can read about it. I've linked the proof of history document over here, so you can click and you can read about it, or you can just Google proof of history Solana if you wish to do it that way. Okay. Yeah. So it uses the same consensus. Basically that means like let's say in Filecoin you have this proof of access in no proof of storage in Arweave you have proof of access. So these are like different consensus. So basically it means like they are actually validating blocks, or they are doing the blocks in a different method. Let's say yeah, so for example, like let's say you're collaborating with a different company, okay, a third party company whose services you're leveraging for data management. Let's say you manage your data physically, or maybe let's say in Google Drive, and let's say this company manages their data or stores their data like on OneDrive, which is OneDrive, so basically, there's no common framework, so that means Google Drive functions differently, or OneDrive functions differently in a technical level. Okay, so there could be some risk, so when the information goes from, Google Drive, and then you need to bring it to your computer and then again upload it to, OneDrive. So it's a mess. It's not efficient. So the same thing happens right now, when Solana leverages Arweave. There's like, you have proof of history within Solana where the consensus is the same. Everyone is on the same page and say agrees to the network, consensus. They say this is the state of the network, and then this information is passed into Arweave, and they verify the same thing uh, with their consensus, which is like proof of access. So basically, there's this risk, when you use two different consensus, so it could be changed, and or maybe the meaning is different because the technology is different, So why don't we have a solution in Solana which leverages one consensus itself? Okay, it's simple. It's just simple. It's just making it simple. You're making everyone's life easier, by doing that. And you're improving the network. You're optimizing it for Solana speed, and it scales with that. The storage, accounting, the accounting process, everything is on chain. All the information is on chain. Everything is on chain. And most importantly, people get incentives to actually, in shadow tokens, they get incentives to actually provide compute, or provide like their PC storage. They get shadow tokens. Basically, let's say if you have 2 TB of storage in your PC or your computer, let's say you use just like 500 GB of it, and 1.5 TB is like empty. Let's say you want to give out like 1 TB of data to this network, you want to contribute, and let's say you earn from that. Okay, so when people use this, like when different people across the world use this, your storage space, you get paid. Okay, so that is what Vitalik meant in the previous, incentivized for storage of data. Okay, and compute, which is also like, you're providing additional compute. The more compute you provide, the more performant a blockchain becomes, or a distributed ledger becomes. Okay, so that's what it is. It just becomes better because we have to think in terms of like how can we support like millions and billions of people. Okay, that's the goal. We have to reach. We can't reach there with like 5,000 transactions per second. We need like million transactions per second. Okay, to do that. And now Shadow Protocol, like, I mean, not now. I mean, they also have like a DAO, which is called Shadowy Super Coder DAO, which is related to their NFT. And it's pretty cool, like how this community engage. As you have seen through the whole presentation, it's a bit technical, but I'm trying to explain to you in a very simple, or in a macro level. But there's like it's much more, it's very technical, a team, GenesysGo itself, like they're very knowledgeable about network and technology and so on and so forth. But still, the community, they love it. They really love it, and they are behind this, behind all of the initiatives that they're doing. And as you see over here, some of the NFT that they have, you see it's like a girl who's sitting like this, and the three monitors, like a quant trader, looking at different screens, or like a programmer, whatever. You get the idea. And if you have any of this like NFT, for each NFT, if you stake the NFT for like 12 years, you will get incentivized with 10,000 of shadow tokens. And depending on the market value of the shadow token, it will actually have a monetary value. If you want to convert that into Solana terms, or if you want to denominate that into US dollar terms, it's up to you. But like, shadow token will have a price because their IDO, which is upcoming tomorrow in Jan 3rd, 2 p.m. At GMT or UTC, and it's going to be done at 50 cents, which I'll touch on that in just a bit at the end. But let's give a backstory to like why is it called like Shadowy Super Coders? Why is the NFT called Super Coder and the DAO? It's because of this lady, which was a politician, a senator in the US, and she says like crypto puts financial system in the hands of shadowy super coders because most of the coders or programmers, they're anonymous, okay, so they don't want to reveal their true identity. It's just the way it is, you know. And Zoomers, you know, the Gen Z, they try to do that pretty often, okay. So it's just because like, you know, these regulators, they don't understand this technology, and they create this all this rules and regulation which makes no sense because they live like, you know, 50 years behind from right now. They don't know, they're still learning how to use email. So I'm just not, I'm not saying this is a fact, you know, they don't know how to use a computer efficiently. So like how do you expect them to understand digital assets? You know, for them it's like, hey, what can I touch? You know, I mean, I get it, but like it's just the way it is. And I think over like as generations cross, you know, it'll be much more easier because the generation, younger generation, I'm millennial, so like I mean, before me, like it's, after me is like the Gen Z, like you know, the younger generation, and then you know you have the boomers, you know. So boomers gone, they don't, some of them understand, but like the Gen Z, they're totally digital, you know, and most of the millennials are digital friendly. They understand all of this, and they're along with it. Anyways, what they did is they embedded this into the NFT in each of the NFT. As you see over here, this is the NFT in your wallet, in your Phantom wallet. And they mentioned instead of leaving our financial system, this is what like Elizabeth Warren, the senator, the politician, she mentioned last year in the summer of 2021. Instead of leaving our financial system at the whims of giant banks, crypto puts the system at the whims of some shadowy, faceless group of super coders, miners, which doesn't sound better to me. I mean, doesn't sound better to me. It sounds better to me, you know. I mean, it's at least better than the banks and all these Goldman Sachs, everyone trying to like, you know, take your money and like, I mean, take your funds or capital and not give you anything. Institutions trying to like tax you more and more and more, you know. So what benefits are you getting from this? Come on, man. You know, you gotta be real. Maybe it's better for her, but it's not better for us, you know. So that's why like, you know, the team in GenesysGo, they mentioned like they also mentioned to this group of randomly generated shadowy supercoders, that sounds a lot better. Yes, it does, ma'am. It sounds a lot fucking better, okay? It sounds a lot better. We are not going back to that banks and all these thing going digital, okay? We're gonna make it better for not just for us, but for everyone, you know, everyone. So that's the whole goal. All right, like talking about better, what is what are the some of the user benefits of shadowy shadow drive? Shadowy. I'm like thinking of the NFTs. But anyways, shadow drive, okay. Shadow drive is a component in Shadow Protocol, which is nothing but like a hard disk, which is a decentralized solution, and that's called shadow drive. Okay, what are the user benefits? Like I mentioned, Arweave doesn't give you flexibility in terms of like how long do you want to store the data. So shadow drive gives you that choice, you know. It gives you the flexibility to choose like how long do you actually want to select the data, how do you want to store the data. And also like, you know, some of the data in RV is like permanent, you know, you can't change it because like in nowadays, like of course like you know, data, you need to be able to change the data, but the change needs to be verified on chain so that there's a track like, hey, from it has been changed from this to this, you know. So and it needs to be verified by the same consensus of proof of history, you know, so that we understand like, hey, everyone agrees that this change has been done and it's everything on chain. And also like in Filecoin, you have this gas market where they do the deals, you know, like a marketplace for all these users and the miners. In Shadow Drive, there's nothing like that. You just go to a decentralized exchange, get Shadow tokens if you want to store data, put it in your Phantom wallet or whatever wallet you use, like the developer uses and or any user uses. Use those tokens, pay for how much you want to store, whatever you want to store. It's flexible, it's like so what basically they have done is they've taken the best of like Filecoin, Arweave, and all the other centralized solutions. They've combined all of their their how they like all the best of it, and they put it into one. Okay, so now like just and it just made it much more cheaper. As you have seen, it made it much more cheaper than the solution of what we already have. It much more scalable, and also it's much more cross-chain compatible. What do I mean by cross-chain compatible? Like I mentioned in the beginning, that hey, this is not just a solution for Solana. It is like a solution for everyone. It's a decentralized data solution for everyone. So that means if they solve the data storage on Solana, because the capacity in Solana, the demand is very, very high because it's so fast, the blockchain and the consensus is so fast, it produces a lot of data. And if it solves for Solana, it's going to easily solve for all these EVM chains like Ethereum, Avalanche, Binance Smart Chain, and Near Protocol, and you name it. It's going to solve for everybody. Okay, it's going to solve it for them. It's going to make it easily compatible for them. So that is why I took Solana as the standard in the first place. To understand, hey, from the best. Hey, if you solve for the best, it's good enough for like the other ones, and it will be good enough. But Arweave and FileCoin is just not good enough. Okay. Let's try to imagine like where like the whole Solana computer when the Shadow protocol is already deployed and already live. Right now they're testing with different shadow operators, and they're testing, and they will come from alpha, they will go to beta stage, and from beta they will go like main live, live. So yeah, so there'll be a lot of testing, but let's try to think of like how it would look in terms of like the whole computers that we use. In computer we have like input devices, keyboards, we have like output screens, we have like CPU, Intel Inside. You see that logo right on your PC. You have the Intel Inside logo, Intel processor, so that's like the CPU, and then you have the hard drive, shadowy drive. Okay, so basically, I mean, the proof of history, the consensus, it becomes the processor because that's where all the, everything, all the information is validated. Okay, so that's a critical thing. And then you have the RAM, random access memory, which is nothing but the shadow network. In this case, in Shadow Protocol's case, it will be the shadow network, which is nothing but decentralized RPC network. Okay, as you remember from the first diagram, we have shown like validators. You have validators on the base layer, you have RPC on the second layer who do not validate, but they're almost the same. And then you have the load balancer, then you have the dApps, so the smart contract platforms and websites and so on and so forth. So this is a whole picture of all of that. So let's say you use a phantom wallet or a hardware wallet. So that's like a user wallet or like an input device, and then it goes to the processor, it does all the verification, blah blah blah, it returns you something, it shows you something on screen, and you're satisfied. Like let's say you want to swap Solana from USDC, you say, hey, then transaction successful. You see it on the blockchain, on the block explorer, and also you see it on like your screen. So I mean, you see that you get an output, and all these things what happen in the background. It's these are like different messages and different requests and like different information, data and information, and all these needs a home. It needs to be stored somewhere, So and that somewhere is the shadow drive, okay, and that is built into Solana, okay. All right, so I've stressed about this point a lot during this presentation in the beginning, and right now, as I'll mention, it's a universal data storage solution that they're solving for a DLT, a DAG, or a blockchain. And DLT is nothing but distributed ledger technology. DAG is nothing but directed acyclic graph, and blockchain is blockchain as you know it. So these are different architectures how distributed systems can be built. Okay, from my knowledge. Okay, so this is how it can be built. Okay. All right, so now we want to actually understand like, hey, the people who are building this or who are actually in this mission to decentralize the L0, the data storage level, are they capable enough? Are they knowledgeable enough? Who are they? So as you can see over here, I've highlighted some of the points from one of their article, and they wrote about themselves. And and you can feel free to Google them and like find more information on them. And from my knowledge, what they wrote is actually true because because, and I've highlighted this thing because I've done the back work and I've verified them. Okay, so one guy is he's called Steve and Frank. Okay, so they're the founders, and if you take a look into them, I'll just read through this quickly. But you can just take a look at to like this, the highlighted points over here. You see, Stephen has a background in distributed data systems and geographic information system, as well as extensive experience building inside Linux terminals. Okay, I have a background in education, business leadership, and I am self-taught quant trader, which is quantitative trader. High frequency trading is not just trading. Okay, it's the next level for the pros. Both of your careers took detours early onto the world of traditional finance, where we both spent many years working as financial planners and leading business units at large investment firms. I've heard like he's worked in Goldman Sachs, and that's what I've verified him as, like, Frank, which really just translate to some financial planning and a lot of sales conversation. Okay, so basically that means they're well informed about like education, business leadership. They know what they're doing. Okay, and they're like they know finance, they know trading, they know, they have business experience, they know how to educate, and they know the tech itself, and they have dug into like Solana, like really deep. Okay, so they know inside out what they're doing. Okay, and that is exactly the reason why they offered like RPC and validator services in the first place, and all of that infrastructure stuff, which is the core component, which a lot of people, it's kind of like boring, but I think like they are like one of the heroes, like not just GenesysGo, but anybody who's offering like infrastructure in the blockchain space is really, really challenging. And I think GenesysGo takes it to the next level, like really next level. But anyways, let's continue. When Steven and I first met, we bonded over being the only real hardcore computer nerds. Okay, so as you see, they're hardcore computer nerds. Okay, like really in a building full of finance people, they were just talking about like computers and all that stuff. Okay, so they're really geeks, I would say. Okay, they know what they're talking about, they know what they're doing. And while we enjoy software, our true passion always has been hardware and networking side. So as you know, like in tech, you have the software and a hardware. Hardware is like you can touch it, and software is like, coding, programming scripts, and all of that stuff. So they mentioned that true passion has always been hardware and networking side. Okay, what does that mean? That means the infrastructure, RPC nodes, validator nodes, these are like hardware machines. So they like that side more than the software side of things. Okay, so you need both. Because like the hardest part is the hardware. Okay, so if you know the hardware, it's pretty easy to do the software side of things and all that stuff. It's pretty easy, you know. So yeah. And let's take a look into one of the lead devs who is actually going to lead the Shadow Protocol and who's a part of the GenesysGo team right now and the Shadow Protocol team. So as you can see, I did the same. He published it yesterday on Discord. I just took a snapshot of it, and yeah, I just highlighted some of the points that can I can tell from my experience that hey, he knows what he's doing, and I mean, he's good. Okay, he's been around the ecosystem a lot. I've seen him on Twitter speak to, like, I've seen his communication on Twitter, and he knows in detail. He's very core, like in the hardware level, So and they see like they've worked on Metaplex, which is the NFT standard. They bootstrap. This guy Levi Cook. Okay, he's called in on Twitter. He's also bootstrapped like the NFT boom. He's worked with different trustless bridges, which connects like Ethereum Cosmos, as you know, that is pretty good as well. What Cosmos is doing with IBC and stuff, and he's also spent some time with Ethereum Foundation. Good place to learn. They share a lot of knowledge. Portal Network, implemented Portal Network, designed and implemented InfluxDB, which is a implement storage layers, a series of database platform. Overall, though, I've been a serial entrepreneur founding technologies for 20 plus years, so lots of experience building teams and companies as well, okay? Lacking in brevity, but hopefully gives you a sense of topics I can speak to. It really does. If you know like all of this, what he's talking about, like like he can speak to a lot of different things, not just like tech, a lot. So yeah, in crypto, like I mean, in digital asset space, people are generally like that. They are very dynamic and they can speak to a lot of different things. So it's really good, because you have a very good picture of the macro in general. More than just to say like a banker or something. There's no accounting and all that. Of course, like yeah, they might know, but like this is as a whole new level, whole new. It's a paradigm shift. Okay. So lastly, Genesis Go is really redefining how business could be done in a very efficient way and in a profitable way and in a win-win situation for everyone who's a part of this. And they've done this tweet like on December 23rd, and take a look at this. I've linked it over here. It's fascinating what they have accomplished till now, and what is their plans, what is the vision. They explain that very carefully, and how it helps, like the community, how it helps them. They're very transparent about this, and they're very simple about this. They're not trying to scam you or something like that. I don't get the feeling. I actually know when I actually see people, I tend to, I have this understanding that, hey, they're actually trying to do, what they're trying to do, and it's best for everyone. They're just not trying to make a quick buck and then just vanish into oblivion. They actually want to make an impact. So they are doing it, and they have proven to do that. They've proven to do that from their services, and they will do that. But all right, speculation, I don't prefer it so much because I don't know, I don't control the market, not as my dad or my uncle, but anyways, if you want to speculate, of course, I'm just going to give you a thought over here, okay? Let's say Arweave AR token has like a market cap of like approximately 3 billion right now. Filecoin has a market cap of 5 billion right now, okay? If you go to CoinGecko and see it in dollars. So the upcoming shadow token, which is going to be IDOing at like 50 cents, IDO's DEX offering, and it's going to come to the market, but you can get it during the IDO launch itself for 50 cents. Okay, so I mean, what could be the market cap in the longer term? If we know, hey, Shadow Protocol is better, if we have seen the differences, and if we have, like theoretically, if we understand, and through all the research components and aspects that we have seen during the presentation today, as you have seen, like Filecoin and Arweave is nowhere near as a decentralized solution, and what solution Shadow Protocol is offering is far, 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 far more better and scalable solution, and it's a universal solution for everybody. Okay, it's much more efficient, and it has that flexibility and that user experience. So what could be the token price of Shadow? Okay, I'll leave it up to you. Leave your comments, in leave your comments with the price. What do you think the price is going to be in the long term? Maybe let's say in 1 year, let's say. Try to predict and leave it if you're curious into doing all of that. But anyways, I've linked, the article of the Shadow idea, how to, like, they show you the process how to do that. I've linked some, you can watch this video. It's a YouTube video, very good video, and you can also go chat with them on Discord and mingle with the community if you're not there already, and also follow their Medium post and learn more about like what they're up to, what is their vision and stuff like that. All other links I've linked it within the presentation itself. And just to quickly showcase, like if you're really, really new to crypto and all that stuff, just go to Twitter. If you have a Twitter account, just go to Google, make use of Google, go type GenesysGo Medium, so that you get their Medium post, you get all their Medium posts over here, and just go to Twitter, as you see, oh, there you go. I wanted to actually go to this website. Anyways, they did a post right now, and If you go to this post, this website, it's actually 21 hours from now. That's when they're going to be launching their shadow token. Okay, so there's like two major ways to get this token. One is through this IDO, and the other is like you can buy it off the market itself once it's launched on like Orca, Radium, and Altrain, Dexes and other Dexes after the IDO, after 24 hours after the IDO. And also you can hold the NFT, you can stake it, and you will get tokens. Okay, so these are like some of the most prominent ways you could go ahead and get hold of shadow token. But anyways, as you see over here, 20 hours, and they have good FAQs over here. Make sure to read it if you're pretty new, if you're a crypto native person, you know this like by heart. And yeah, and I've also explained this like in a video. Just go to Google, type GenesysGo IDO DeFi Beginners. DeFi Beginners. Okay, so once you do that, you will go to this video section. Yeah, you will see this. Okay, just just go to this video, watch this video if you're a newcomer, and you will get everything, like really this video has been so helpful that people have messaged me saying that like it's been really really helpful. So, and if you're new, it will be helpful, so just go and take a look at that. And I hope you got a lot of understanding of what this project or what this brand they're trying to do as a business. And this is just the beginning, this is just the beginning, and there's a lot more to come, and there's a lot more, to talk about or discuss about with the community, and they're going to do all of that. So I would highly recommend to get involved and be a part of this movement, and because this is very critical. If we solve for this L0, it's a mutual benefit to the entire world. It solves a lot of different things. So we can bring everything on chain. We don't need to trust any company like Google or Facebook to store our data. As you know, you're pretty aware, like how they treat our data. So we want not we, it's just a much more efficient, cost effective, much more better solution than what we have currently. And we should always choose the best. We should always strive for the best. What is good for humanity. We need to choose that. So contribute to this mission. I will, and I'll keep you posted when I do so. And I'll be participating in the IDO tomorrow. And I hold their SSC NFT, Shadowy Super Coder NFT. Yeah, I just want to be a part of this community because I haven't seen a team like this before. And in my 4.5 years, I've been in digital assets or in crypto. And yeah, and if you just closing thoughts, if you want more of this sort of content or research material like in depth and to get a very good overview, subscribe to the channel. Click on all notifications, the bell, and like this video, and comment with your ideal price. I would like to know that, and share the video if it was useful for you. It'd be useful for your friend. So sharing is always good. You actually learn a lot of things because let's say your friend is not aware of all of this, and if you share it with your friends, you and your friends start discussing about all of these topics, and once you start discussing, you grow each other's capacity. At least that's how I do, so I want to learn from you as well. If you are much more knowledgeable, if you have your own point of views, leave your comments and I'll be happy to address them, the best way I can. All right, so have a nice evening, guys. And I hope I covered everything and I gave you a good picture. I will, do much more in-depth video later, on specific aspects. What I see would be really important. And see you. Have a nice evening. Bye now. Bye.